Hey everyone, so in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you all this look that I have on. It is my take on like the clean makeup look or like the clean girl makeup look. Think of like, like Hailey Bieber, like her makeup always looks really great. But my take on this look is that it's just really, really natural skin. No foundation on the skin whatsoever. It's just adding coverage to those areas that you feel like you need it. A little bit of like a sunburn flush, nice kind of lifted cheekbone, a little bit more of like a smoky winged out eye put together, but it's not too much. It's kind of walking that line of like trying but not trying too hard. Really loving the way that the skin looks. In general, I'm just really liking it. So I hope that you guys do too. And if you do, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and let's jump in. Okay, so skin prep is super important with this makeup look. I feel very fortunate because my skin has been doing super well. I'm not gonna give all of the credit to Isntree, but I'm gonna give a lot of the credit to Isntree. They are sponsoring this portion of the video. I have tried out a ton of Isntree products and these are the ones that I have just been absolutely impressed by. They're a Korean skincare brand. I'm sure some of you guys have heard about them. This is like one of their most hyped up products and this is the first product that I tried, the Hyaluronic Acid Watery Sun Gel. I'll talk more about this in a second, but it's safe to say that this is one of the best sunscreens I've ever used. But I did already cleanse my skin and I used the Yamroot Vegan Milk Cleanser. And I just gotta say, if you are a huge fan of a cream cleanser the way that I am, I end up being very picky because I've tried so many, and this is definitely one of the best that I've tried. So it's actually not heavy on the water, like it's not strictly water-based. It actually has quite a bit of oils in here, and I think that that's what makes this one different. It really nourishes the skin barrier without leaving like a weird film on the skin, which some cream cleansers can definitely do. No irritation on my skin. I notice when I'm not using this one now, but I'm now going to take the Isntree Green Tea Fresh Toner and apply this onto my skin. I'll throw up an insert. It has like the most gorgeous color to it. And that's from all of the tannins from the green tea extract in here. It's Jeju green tea. I love the smell. It smells like green tea, so that's always like a nice experience, but it's very watery. It immediately sinks into the skin. You can see that I've already used a lot of it. I like to go in with a couple of layers, and the main difference in my skin that I've seen with this product in particular is the overall balancing of my skin. So they typically recommend this to those of you with oily skin, but I have noticed for me, in the summer, I definitely get a little bit more congested. This does such an incredible job of balancing my skin, and I feel like my skin is less red when I use it too. They have like a mix of extracts that they use in here that helps to control like excess sebum. My favorite part is just how balanced my skin feels when I use this and less red. It just feels a little bit more resilient. It is incredibly lightweight, so if you don't like a really heavy toner, this one your skin just like soaks it right up. And by the way, something else I really like about Isntree, this is kind of just an aside, is that none of the products are super expensive. I feel like they're all very reasonable. Next, I'll go in with the Isntree Hyaluronic Acid Water Essence. Now, they also did send me the toner, and I really like the toner too, but if I want to kind of like just skip moisturizer and just go in with my sunscreen, which is kind of been like what I've been doing this summer, I will just use the Hyaluronic Acid Water Essence, and this does such an incredible job adding that moisture and hydration into the skin. So it has 8 different types of hyaluronic acid in here, and it just adds this kind of moisture seal onto the skin, and my skin just does really well with it. But again, this isn't like a really heavy product either, so I just feel like for the summer, this routine is more about adding these layers of moisture that aren't really heavy and kind of piling on top of each other. Which brings me to the sunscreen that I just talked about, the Hyaluronic Acid Watery Sun Gel. Now, they have redone the packaging recently. I'll throw up a picture of what it looks like now. This sunscreen is one of the best that I have tried. I'm coming out with a sunscreen roundup video, and you will see this at the top of my list. I loved this even before they reached out to me. And then when they reached out, I was like, holy crap, y'all make a really good sunscreen, just so you know. Yeah, there's absolutely no white cast. Does not burn the eyes. A mix of chemical filters. So, you know, typically you have to be careful about like, is it going to be irritating? Never burns my eyes, never irritates my skin. And it leaves my skin with like a nice glowy finish, but it's not greasy on the skin. It just feels like you're applying a lotion and then it kind of just absorbs right into the skin. And it has SPF 50, which is awesome. So if you're looking for a good sunscreen to wear under makeup or, you know, just wear every day, this is one of the best that I've ever tried. And there is the skin prep all done. I love that it feels and looks very hydrated, but it's not heavy on my skin whatsoever. So before I do any makeup, I always like to let my skincare sink into the skin. Actually give the sunscreen about 15 minutes before I go on with makeup. But today we're not doing any foundation. We're going to skip foundation. What I really like about the clean girl makeup look is that the skin is really kind of speaking for itself, but that doesn't mean that we can't add coverage in the areas that we want to. So what I typically do, I don't know if you guys can tell, but I do have some residual self tanner, and my favorite way of getting like a no foundation look, especially when I've self tanned, is going in with the Saie Glowy Supergel, and this is the shade Sunglow. So you can see it has a little bit of a bronze tint, and what I will do is just pat this into the skin, and you can see that immediately, you know, it's not giving coverage, but it adds this little touch of like a bronze glow that makes everything match better. Pretty because, you know, it has a translucence to it, so it's not like a thick, milky kind of bronzer shade. I really like that you can still see through the product when it's applied. As far as coverage products, this is not going to be a surprise, but we have the Kosas Revealer Concealer, and this is the shade at 2.5C. And when I am a little bit tan, I do find that I can get away with using this shade under the eyes. On the face, we're going to use a different concealer shade though. So I'm just going to add this where I typically add my concealer for under my eyes. And then I'm also going to kind of drag the concealer up a little bit. I have noticed with kind of the clean girl makeup look that there's a focus on kind of lifting the face, and I think that that is really pretty. You don't have to go overboard with the contour, the highlighting, and have like a ton of extra steps in order to get that look. So I'll show you guys how I do it. And while I'm letting that set a little bit so I get more coverage, that's what I typically do, I'm going to go in with the Loreal Age Perfect Radiant Concealer, and this is the shade Creamy Beige. And what I'm going to do is just take it in any of the areas where I just want to conceal a little bit of redness. So around my nose, typical spot for me, and then a little bit right here, any little spots that I have, and that's it. I mean, just adding a little bit of concealer to those areas, and you can always go back with more if you feel like you need to, but I always find that it's good to kind of build up your way there. And I'm just going to use the Beautypie concealer brush. This is the Pro Angled concealer brush. And I love this one. It reminds me a lot of the Rare Beauty concealer brush. It kind of gives you the control of a finger. And then you can kind of buff out the product onto the surrounding area just so you get a good gradient. And when you're blending out the under eyes, just make sure that you're kind of taking that concealer all the way up. Okay, and there we go. So for bronzer, you guys, I've just been so in love with the Charlotte Tilbury one. So I think I'm going to use this one today, and just using the Beautypie Seamless Foundation Buffing Brush. And what we are trying to do here is add a bronze, but also a bit of a lift. So the best and easiest way I have found that you can do that is to find that cheekbone. You can always just put your finger here, find where the cheekbone is, and then kind of go like right on top of it rather than under it. You know, we're not trying to like contour necessarily, but what I've found typically happens is the bronzer is going to naturally fall a little bit down onto the face, and that way you're not starting too low so that you kind of drag the face down. This is what I've found, you know, over the years has worked for me. And I'm also going to take it all around the perimeters of the face. Taking a little bit onto the jawline as well. This formula, as far as cream bronzers go, is so easy to work with. It's very, very creamy and buildable, but I don't know. I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I do, but this is definitely one of the best cream products that I've tried this year. So I am very happy about it. Now, something that you can do at this point is kind of see any areas that you feel like need a little bit of extra coverage. Do you feel like some areas need a little bit of extra shape? In general, the bronzer and the concealer should really be meshing well together to look like skin. You know, it shouldn't look like two stark lines on the face. Something that I sometimes do is I make sure I have all of the excess off of my brush, and then I'll just do this. Make sure that all of those layers are nicely blended. And I do find that this really helps. And there you go. The base is looking really nice. Now for brows, the brows are definitely a little bit less fluffier with this kind of look than what I would typically go for. But these have a touch more restraint. And I think I can get down with that. So we're really just trying to add some lift towards the tail of the brow to really continue to lift the face. So what I'll do is just brush up the brows and then take a look what areas need a little bit of filling in. I'll fill in the front a little bit. And then I'm also going to kind of play into the arch of my brow, which my brows are decently straight, but to play into that arch, I'll kind of go up here and make sure that I'm filling in from the top rather than the bottom. You can see when you do that, you kind of get a natural lift pretty easily. So that's kind of the trick that I do if I want a little bit more of that arch. So you can see the difference between the two sides of my face. It definitely gets you there pretty quick. All right, and those are the brows filled in. Now, as far as how we set them, again, I'm going to keep the front a little bit fluffier, but I am going to kind of pull them back a little bit at the edges or the ends. And this is the Linda Halberg Infinity Brow. I just really like this one. So I'll keep it a little bit fluffier there, but then towards the outer half of the brow, really getting that lift. I do know that I skipped blush. I know. But with this look, I figured we should do a little bit of like a sunburnt kind of look. You guys know that's one of my favorite blush looks to do. So this is the Huda Beauty Cheeky Tint Blush Stick, and it's the shade Rebel Red. Really a perfect shade to kind of fake that sunburnt look. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit onto the same brush I've been using, the buffing foundation brush, and then I'm going to take any excess off onto the back of my hand, and then I'm kind of going to go in a line across the face, like a little wave. So I'm getting right under the eye, onto the bridge of the nose, and then out and swept back out. You can also use this as an opportunity to kind of further lift the face and kind of add this where you added the bronzer. So I'll do a little bit of both. Adding a little bit to add that lift, but then I'm dragging it over and pressing. Just think about where you would typically burn. And speaking of which, I'll add a little bit up here because I find that typically when I get a little bit of sun, this is where it will happen, which, you know, we're trying to avoid. There we go. So blush is all done. Let's jump into the eyes. The main difference that I see between like the clean makeup look and like a no makeup look is the eyes. Like that's the first difference that you're going to see. It definitely has a little bit more product to it. I like that this look kind of borrows from like a no makeup makeup look, but has this little, like these little touches of refinement. And I think that the eyes are a really good place to do that. So yeah, I think I'm going to do just a touch of a wing, a very soft wing. And I'm just going to use the Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil in the shade Whiskey. And I'm just going to draw like a touch of a wing. You know, not anything too major. And then I'm just going to kind of smoke it out and upwards. I really like this shade Whiskey as well, just because I find that a brown liner is a little bit more natural. You could also use a brown mascara too. And then I'm just going to take this e.l.f. brush. This is from the Mint Melt line, but I like it because it just makes doing a smoky liner so freaking easy. You can kind of tap it in and then drag it up and like just kind of does it for you. And then I like to take any of the excess and kind of drag it back down onto the lid, just so it kind of adds a little bit more of a gradient effect. And we also are going to tight line, so that will help as well. Now, what I like to do to just clean up things a little bit, obviously this is a little bit more of a smoky look, but I'll just take the brush that I used for concealer and just kind of go over these edges and just get a little bit more of a clean look that way. Just really easy to do this. And look, it like gets us back to the shape that I'm looking for. So now I'm just going to take a brush and just feather this color upwards a little bit, and then it kind of adds this natural shape that I really like. Almost like it almost functions as like a transition, but we're only like using one product. We are going to intensify it just a little bit by tight lining, and I'm going to mainly tight line on the outer portion of the eye. So I'm not going to go all the way into the pupil, just focusing it on the outer edges. And now that we've tight lined, we're going to do a bit of mascara. I always curl my lashes before mascara. And I'm going to use the Beautypie Uber Volume Boost. And I'm going to focus the mascara towards the outer portion of the eye and kind of get a little bit more of the winged look, just to kind of further accentuate the smokiness that we have going on. And I find that it really helps if you blink into the mascara. So that is the eyes all done. And again, like if you wanted to go back in and add a little bit more of that lift towards the outer corner, you can just take that concealer brush. You can even go in with a little bit more concealer if you wanted to. I'm just taking a little bit on the back of my hand and just take it and kind of slowly bring it up under that wing and onto the temple. While you're at it, feel free to highlight a little bit with the excess if you so desire. And we are in the home stretch here, but for lips, you could do something a little bit more glossy if you so desire. I think what I'm going to do is kind of do like a mix, do something a little bit more satin. So this is the Glow Night Serum, and it's just, I love it for nourishing the lips before a lip color. But what I'm going to do today is just take it, really moisturize the lips, and then I'll go in with a lip color on top, just so we're getting a little bit more of a satin look. And this is the matte lip stain from L'Oreal. This is the shade 416 Create. And just applying that right on top. I just feel like this shade is so wearable. It's a little bit paler than I typically go for. I really, you know, I stick with roses and like rosewood shades, but I actually really like this shade. But what I'm going to do to kind of like pull together all of the colors that we have going on, it's something that I do a lot. It is just going to take a little bit of my blush, the Huda Beauty Rebel Red, and just tap it in right into the middle. You see how it kind of like brings in that color from the cheeks? Everything meshes well. Okay, everyone, and that is my clean makeup look. Again, I just really like that you are able to get a very put together look in such a short amount of time. You know, we skipped foundation. I feel like the skin really is, it just looks like there's not a lot of product on it, but we still have achieved a nice lift. We have nice shape, and it really just doesn't feel like a lot of makeup on the skin. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you again to Isntree for sponsoring a portion of the video. You guys rock, and I will see you guys in the next one.